I agree.
Kids,
I think it does do a lot of damage.
Don't smoke, please.
Yeah, don't do any substances, kids.
Don't
your brains right now are so fun as they are. Save the substances until you're older and you need it. And you're like,
you've got your whole life to be depressed.
Yeah. And if you start drugs too early, they're not going to be as much fun as you get older. Save it and it'll be even more fun. I didn't get into weed till I was like 24, you know, and now I'm a stoner. And like, it does help me regulate myself and I'm having a good time with it, you know? So like, I don't know, just hold off, let your brains develop. You got all the childlike dopamine right now.
Right. You have no bills to pay.
Yeah, dude.
You know, you don't have to worry about a mortgage.
Yeah.
Like,
if you're in America, sure, you're worried about school shooters, but like,
they said that we'd grow out of it. Well, the joke's on them, that's just our brains. We're eccentric, loud, and stubborn. And most of our clothing is covered in stains. It's not a deficit of attention. There's just too much to think about. So if executive dysfunction becomes a little too much, if you forgot why you came in this room, or you're hypersensitive to touch, then put on your seamless socks and come join our little flock. Bitches stimming together, we're weirds of a feather. Weirds of a feather.
Stop slipping on the couch.
I can't. It's
I know.
a very slippy couch. I can't help it.
I know, it's hard to
and I don't even have like the corner to prop myself against it. I'm free floating on this slippery couch.
I know.
Slippy McGee.
At least you're all cozied up there, Slippy McGee. Yeah.
Super bundled. I kind of almost want to have like a babushka moment and put this over my head, but I won't.
Get in there.
I might.
It might affect recording.
Yeah, I'm gonna end up like hitting this a lot. Yeah. And so,
do you want a quick turn with my heating pad in there? Get it toasty in there?
No, you get yourself toasty.
Well, you could get the heat going and then keep it trapped in there.
Yeah,
you know. So take a few minutes. All right, hit this.
Ooh, oh, this is nice.
Right?
I have a heating pad. Why didn't I bring mine?
Oh, that's a whole thing. I'm gonna get a second heating pad that we can use for recordings because I want one anyways. I need one in the bedroom and one in the living room. One's not enough. I love my heating pads. I also have a microwavable heating pad that I put in the microwave every single morning for 3.5 minutes and I tie it around my waist.
I love a good heating pad.
I do too.
My hands
I'm like
get
a lizard.
Cold. I know.
I want a heat source. It's not even about like being warm. It's kind of like in the summer, I don't like that it's too warm to wear a heating pad. I just like having a concentrated source of heat.
You need like a
warm
rock.
Yeah. Oh, I love a warm rock. I would adore a warm rock. I would just lay on it all day.
Basically,
yeah.
Where the
my
temperature
enclosure.
is always the perfect amount of humidity. Lizards have it so good.
They do.
You know?
As long as they're being properly cared for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they have like very particular needs, but when they're being met, like they don't have that many needs. The ones they do have are very particular.
Yeah.
But as long as those needs are being met, yeah, they're kind of living the dream.
They're living my dream, that's for sure.
That lizard dream. Sweet lizard dream. They can lose their own tails, some of them, if someone grabs them.
I would love to lose a tail every once in a while.
Someone grabs your wrist and you just chop
like,
it off.
Joke's on
I don't
you.
need that anyway.
I don't even need it.
I'll grow another.
Yeah. I'm right-handed.
Yeah, bitch.
Welcome to Weirds of a Feather.
That's a good start.
An AuDHD-Adjacent podcast.
Yep.
Do you want this back?
You got a little heat source in there? All right, trap it. Keep it trapped.
I'm keeping it trapped. I'm trapped.
All right.
And you might be wondering, are they in the Arctic? We might as well be.
Yeah.
We
had to turn off the heater in order to record down here because we're down in the basement.
A sacrifice we're willing to make.
Yes.
Hence the blankets.
Yeah. And the heating pad. But just so you know, this content comes at a great, great cost to us.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You better be enjoying it.
Yeah, we could be on a warm rock right now, but we're
not. We're not. We're not on a warm rock.
We're
cold in the basement. We're on a cold couch.
We're in the basement.
But that's okay.
Super slippery couch.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're happy to be here.
Yeah, we got our own voices to keep us warm.
Exactly.
And who are we? We are, I am Grace Beret, your host, Grace Beret.
You almost got that transition.
Yeah, I know. I almost had
so
it.
Close.
Well, it wasn't so much a transition as me kind of calling you out for not introducing yourself after you introduce the podcast, which you keep doing.
Halfway there.
Yeah.
I think I should give 50% credit.
I'll give you 50.
You're Grace Beret.
I am.
And I'm Kristin Stanhope.
Yep.
And here we are. We're doing it. Welcome. I have a warm-up question.
All right.
Yeah.
What you got?
Do you ever feel hungover after you cry? Like after you have a big cry, do you have a cry hangover? Like you just feel like tired.
Yes.
And it's like almost into the next day,
It depends on the cry, the level of cry.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel bad. I just feel tired.
Tired and just like
a hangover.
And I feel sad after a big cry. Like I don't feel better.
I feel better after
I feel better the day after, like 2 days. Like I have day 1 is big cry. Day 2 is cry hangover. And day 3, I'm like, okay, I'm better.
Well, you know why? Because it's regulating to your nervous system to cry. So.
Does my nervous system need a whole goddamn day?
Yes. Apparently, it literally does. Yours especially.
The worst. Mine especially. Why?
Yes, because you don't do anything to regulate your nervous system.
I do plenty of things. What do you do? I drink a lot of coffee. I watch a lot of videos of like the 2 different color paints, and then they mix them to make a different paint, and you try to guess the name of that paint color. Very regulating to me.
Yes, a classic nervous system regulation technique. Yeah. Naming paints. It's paint mixtures.
Mixing paints and then naming that paint.
That sounds like a nice activity, but that's not nervous system regulation.
It's good enough for me.
It's not, because if you need 3 days to fucking recover from a cry,
it's not 3. 2.
That's 2. That's a lot of days.
That's a lot of days.
You're saying,
I don't like having a big cry because I just can't take time off to recover from it.
Well, you know how you could avoid that is doing smaller cries.
Not crying.
No.
Ever.
This problem comes from not crying ever. You do smaller cries.
Your opinion.
It's an accurate opinion because it's like you're asking me these things, but you're not wanting to know these things. You just want to kind of complain about your cry hangover.
Yes.
So exactly I'm going to give you solutions. You can take them or leave them. But if you want to keep having a cry hangover, I'll leave it. You keep having those and take, take some PTO to have a big cry once a month. Take 3 days off, have one big cry.
I can do, if I do the cry at night after work, I need 1 day off and then I go back to work. I feel fine.
Yeah, but that's like a whole weekend, that sucks.
Yeah, I know. If I do it on a Friday night, I'm fucked.
Yeah. Okay. So to avoid that, if you please.
Thursday. Struggle on Friday.
First of all, you're not going to schedule your cries. That's part of the problem. You got to just cry when you feel it. Watch more sad things. Build in little safe cries throughout your week, Watch a soldier coming home to his dog, and have a little cry.
That's too
emotional. Build in some little cries so it doesn't all get built up and come out in one huge cry. And also, if you don't want to have little cries, first of all, you should have little cries. At least when you're feeling it, you should allow yourself to cry. Especially like a TV show or a movie or something like that. You're in the moment. You're in a safe place. There's no better time to cry, So I say, and I've had to work on that myself because I've always been embarrassed. I'm a big crier at movies. I'm a big crier in general. I just think my nervous system's always on edge. But like in an argument, I will cry so fast. And I'm not sad. I'm mad. But I can't not cry. And I fucking hate it. I cry at movies way too easily. But lately I've been like, who fucking cares? It's in front of Ian, which, I'm fine with crying in front of Ian. And if I feel the emotion, that's just my nervous system kind of trying to regulate itself. So I just have embraced the movie cry.
Embracing the cry.
Because it feels really good. Because it's not actually real sadness. I'm not, it's not like a devastating thing in my life. It's a temporary moment of sadness that doesn't belong to me. I'm kind of borrowing the sadness, regulating my nervous system, and then it's not going to like affect me forever, I'm not really genuinely sad about it. It's just in the moment, it feels emotional.
So, you don't get cry hangovers?
No. I don't really. I mean, my eyes will be puffy the next day and I'll feel like a little sleepy, but I don't feel hungover unless I'm still really sad.
It's not like I'm nauseous or anything. I just feel like overwhelming sadness and tired. It's exhausting to cry.
Yeah, it is exhausting. I think that's you like experiencing your emotions that have been in your body and now you're like experiencing them. So that takes a lot out of you. It's a lot to experience emotions.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound pleasant.
No, it's like the worst.
I kind of like a big cry, you know? I think it feels
I feel like most people like it.
And
so correct me if I'm wrong, listeners. Most people, after they cry, they're like, oh, I feel better. It's all out of my system now. I don't feel like that until day 2.
I think it depends on what they're crying about. Also, like if it's a persisting problem or you're like going through grief or something, obviously it's not going to feel good to cry. Like, so
True.
I feel like that's not what we're talking about. So we can count out that type of crying.
Yeah.
If you're crying over something because it's like a continuous traumatic event or memory or whatever in your life, you're probably not going to feel better after crying. You're just going to like go through periods of crying and not crying.
Regular,
but just like a regular
run-of-the-mill cry.
You're overwhelmed by something, and you're just like gotten in like a little fight, or you're just like like everything was just kind of too much that day.
Yeah.
I love that kind of cry. It feels to me like being hungover and then throwing up, or being drunk. I guess it feels like being drunk and then you throw up, where it's like, I felt so bad about this all day. I just need to do this thing that like is uncomfortable, but it's also like this relief. Like at least it's coming out of me physically, you know, metaphorically. It's like leaving, because memories and sadness and emotions live in your body, you know?
Yeah.
And so they're all in there.
I like a big nap when I'm stressed. I just want
to help?
With my feelings, yeah.
Yeah.
I like to go. I like to get all bundled up and warm. And maybe I'll cry a little bit, but mostly I'll just fall asleep.
That sounds kind of nice. Kind of like a baby, yeah.
I feel like it's
baby soothing itself to sleep.
Yeah, like running away from my problems almost with sleep.
Well, you could also do tapping, EFT tapping, and that's a way to do little bursts of nervous system regulation. Do like 7 minutes a night and avoid 2 days of a cry and then a hangover cry. So, I mean, it's really up to you. I'm not trying to be pushy, but you can choose.
Choose my own
Do you want to have one big burst every however many weeks, or would you want to do like 7 minutes of nervous system regulation
a day? Oh my God.
It's so nice. And then I sleep. Oh, I sleep so well after. It's like taking melatonin. I sleep like an angel. And every night I don't do it. I'm like, I'm fine. I'll sleep fine. And then I wake up. I'm like, fuck, I should have done tapping before bed, because it really is such a big difference. But I think that would help you get it out in little bits, like the little, you know, mini cries.
Yeah.
To avoid one big fiasco.
Yeah. I think you're right, but I'm not happy about it.
I know. You never are. And I'm always right, and you're never happy about it. But
I want to know what the listeners think.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a big cry and then feel hungover after? Do you have a cry hangover? Do you do that? Do you manage your cries with, like, I don't know, therapy or something?
Yeah.
Let me know.
Do you do a different somatic therapy? Do you watch Old Yeller twice a week to like kind of schedule your cries?
Do you watch Old Yeller?
No, but I used to watch it when I was a child, and my mom would come down, like 4 years old. It was my favorite movie.
Oh, that's right.
And she would come down the stairs, and I would just be watching it, crying by myself. And I always wanted to watch it. I think that was me scheduling my cries, getting my emotions out, you know? I liked to feel. I like to, when it's not like, obviously, when it's not like a personal grief or tragedy, I do kind of like to feel that sadness sometimes. I think it feels good in a weird way. Sometimes it's nice to feel. Just in general, it's nice to feel, you know?
I'm not big on the feelings.
Yeah.
We are different.
We are different.
And I think that's great that you feel your feels.
Yeah. I think it's nice. Maybe one day you will.
One day I will. But I don't like to feel my feelings.
Okay. Well,
I think it's like a necessary thing that I have to do. You have to feel feelings.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But I find them inconvenient.
Well, that's kind of part of being a human, you know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, all right.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my warm-up question.
That's a good warm-up. I bet you did not think I was going to preach at you about nervous system regulation, did you?
No, I always feel like every warm-up question is like a trap.
Yeah, you think it's going to go one way.
And then you're like, back to tapping.
Anyways, tapping.
It all goes
EFT,
back to tapping.
I know, Big Tap is really paying me a lot to drop these tapping notes.
This is sponsored by Big Tap.
And not the dance.
And not the dance.
Yeah. It's one of my many dreams to create an ADHD tapping app. You out there, if you know technology and you can create apps, let me know, because I would love to do an ADHD specific.
It's a business idea.
Kind of, yeah. But this is like a serious one where I genuinely think I could do that. And then I think you could too. It's like creating a podcast instead of just like bombarding people with like, you have ADHD in my regular life. Like, listen to this podcast.
I did do that the other day.
It's enjoyable to do, but people don't always take it well.
No, luckily this person took it really well. And it was kind of like a aha moment. And
talk about, do you want to share this as your little accomplishment? Actually.
Yeah, maybe I'll share this as my little accomplishment.
I think you should.
Instead. Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay. Let's do our song and then you can keep talking.
Yeah.
All right.
Little accomplishments, but big in our hearts. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Kristin.
Okay.
Keep talking about what you accomplished, because I'm proud of you on this one.
I held off for a while, but
like 2 weeks.
2 weeks was a really long time because this person was very, very obviously ADHD. And I will leave it vague because they are now a listener. First of all,
welcome.
They're they're now a listener, and I'm very proud of them because they were very like welcoming to the fact and like immediately was like, I gotta look all this stuff up.
Yeah.
And like joining more podcasts and looking things up. And I let them borrow my ADHD 2.0 book.
Great.
Which I did find a sticky note in there already from them. And
great.
He's like, this makes so much more sense than what I thought it was. And I was like, I don't understand how you've gotten this far in life without anyone telling you that. But yeah, I'm very proud of them. And for one, just like very much like, I wouldn't say blindly accepting, but very much accepting me being like, listen, you have ADHD and you need to like look this up.
Yeah. How'd you bring it up with them? Because it's always like hard to broach the topic. Broach the topic?
Luckily, this person, they and I have an agreement where we are both very much oversharers, and it's nice.
That is nice.
It's nice because it's like nothing's off the table of like, maybe that's inappropriate. Because we're just like, especially with them, because they're like, they're the thought process. There's no like linear thought. It's very web thought. So it's, we're grasping at things. And we're unmedicated, and so we're grasping at other things. There's no linear thought process. So
it's my favorite kind of conversation.
It's I could talk to this person all day. I don't even know what we talk about. And so it's really hard to get work done.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
But I think I started talking about my own experiences, and they started talking about other things, and I said, What would you do if someone told you you have ADHD? And they're like, well, I never thought about that. And I go, can I tell you something? They're like, yeah. And I was like, you 100% have ADHD, the most. And then they went home and they asked their family members, they're like, what do you think? They go, oh, yeah, of course. We have all known this.
So it was like a Kristin situation where everyone's like, oh, they're so ADHD. But then it's like, no,
You're
but
like
really.
the last one to know. Yeah. But like really.
But actually, yes, of course.
But actually.
You do have ADHD.
So
that's the best moment.
It was like
when they're receptive to it.
I really don't want to be like, you have this. Especially like in the medical field where I am not in psych. I am try to stay very far away from the psych field. I like surgery. I like to do the surgery, and I stay in my surgical lane. So I don't want to tell people, but sometimes it's so fucking obvious.
I know.
And you're just like, God, why can't you see this?
I know. I feel like it's one of those like ethical gray areas where like on one hand, yeah, it's not great to like, I guess, like tell anyone what diagnoses you think they have and like it's not our place and blah, blah, blah.
Place.
But on the other hand, like when it's so obvious, like first of all, we've been doing this for years now. We've both read a ton, learned a ton. We both are in the medical field to different levels. Like on the other hand, it can change someone's life so profoundly that like I see both sides of it. And I know some people have a problem with it, but like, yeah, if you have the chance to like change someone's life by just pointing out something that like no one else has fucking pointed out to them, even though it's very obvious. No one's saying it. I like to be the person to I like to be the person to come in and just like say it, because if they don't have it spelled out for them, they might never learn. And like what a tragedy that would be, you know?
Yeah. And then they started asking about different things like emotional dysregulation. And I think they were talking about it, but they didn't have like the correct terms for it. So it was nice to kind of like point out like, oh, that's called a hyperfocus. That's called emotional dysregulation.
Yes.
And, you know, you kept seeing like it's all connecting. And so I was excited. I'm excited for their journey.
Yeah.
They're clearly going to deep dive.
Great.
And I'm excited to see. I hope that helps them.
I bet it will. Sounds like it already has.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm proud of you.
Well, thanks. I held off because the first time I met them, I was like taken aback. I was like, oh my God, it's one of us.
One of us.
But I was like, I don't think they know. And then I was like, I got to rein it in. And then I try to like rein it in, but I cracked. I was like, listen.
Yeah, you can only keep it in for so long.
You and I need to talk.
It's especially hard when they're like describing things where they're like, I don't know why I do this, or I don't know why for some reason.
I'm so forgetful.
Yes, it's like it's all connected. It's because you have ADHD. Yes. That's a trait.
I like to bounce from subject to subject. I'm like, I know.
Yeah, for some reason I just can't stay on one topic. I don't know why. It's impossible
so difficult
to hold in.
I know. So anyway, I'm glad for their little journey. It's more of a little accomplishment for them than for me.
Well, I think it's both. I think it took bravery to say it, because some people don't react well. So it took bravery to be vulnerable enough to put this thing out there. It's great that it was well received. And you did that despite knowing that it might not be taken the best, you know, and you did it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped them.
I don't want to like
introduce them to new information.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know. It's not like you're going up to someone and saying like, hey, you're depressed.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, you know what? Fuck you, man. I can already tell.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's like, hey, your brain is different. Like my brain.
Yeah.
And
brain recognizes brain.
My brain is signaling to your brain.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And like we talk about all the time, that like neurotypicals can recognize, I don't know if there's studies on like ADHDers, but with autistic people, something like less than a second that they recognize that an autistic person is autistic, not necessarily consciously, but subconsciously. And then they like often don't like us and they don't know why, but they're sensing this thing about us. So it's like, if they can identify us so quickly, I think we should be able to identify each other to help each other, you know?
Within a second.
Yeah.
It was like
they smelled it so fast. Yeah. It's like you just know. And what a great feeling. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Because when you see it, it's like so apparent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially unmedicated. Holy moly.
Oh, yeah.
Grace.
Yeah.
What was your little accomplishment?
My little accomplishment, I have been making animations.
Woo!
For the podcast.
I'm loving the animations.
They're so fun to do.
They're so cute.
If you guys haven't seen them, I've been taking clips from the podcast and animating them on Adobe Express. They have like an automatic animation thing where you can just put in little clips, choose your little characters, and then it will just animate us talking. And so
it's very cute.
Yeah, Kristen's a little guy. I think his name is Leonard. Is like what the character's name
really?
is. Yeah. And my little guy's a little hot dog. I think that's maybe just called Hot Dog. But
Jamie's on there. She made an appearance. She's a backpack.
Yeah, Jamie's a little backpack.
It's adorable.
Yeah. I've just like been having such a fun time making them. Because of course we were talking about this animation a while ago. I had discovered it a while ago and I was like, oh, that'd be really fun to do. But it'd be even cooler to have like little animations of us, what we actually look like. Because this one, it's really cool that it does it automatically. But there are only so many characters to pick from. Obviously, I don't look like a hot dog and you don't look like Leonard. So they don't actually look like us. I feel like they embody our spirits though. But when I discovered it, I was like, and Christopher also, we kind of got each other going where we're like, what if we learned real animation and we figured out how to
He's
make
like
it look
ready
like
to
us.
Join like Walt Disney's
yes,
team. Yeah.
Literally. So I think we just both like escalated it too much. And then I like was waiting for that to happen. And then of course it didn't because we didn't make it happen.
Yeah, because one, animation is hard.
It's really hard. It's complex.
You have to learn. Yeah,
you got to move all the little arms and all the little.
Yeah.
It's
was like,
unnecessary
you guys
detail.
Have fun.
Yeah,
I cannot.
So I kind of put this automatic animation thing aside, and then of course, last minute grace, the week before TikTok's supposed to go away. Just woke up one day. I'm like, I gotta get our stuff out there.
You texted me, I'm gonna spend the next day doing animation,
and I did.
Okay.
I spent all day doing it.
Yeah,
it was
just great.
Pulling clips, putting them in. They have to be under 2 minutes. But yeah, if you go to Adobe Express, I can't remember what it's called, but it has a character animation, and you can just pick your little guys and have it animate it. And yeah, I thought it was a good way to get our clips out there, so I cranked out a bunch of them.
I loved it,
and I'm getting them out there. They're on. You can check them out on YouTube Shorts. They're on YouTube Shorts and TikTok. And a couple of them are on Instagram, but we are trying to move away from Instagram. So go find us on YouTube Shorts, I would say,
Are they on Red Note?
Yeah, some of them are on Red Note,
Nice.
so you can find us there. Yeah, they're really fun to do, and I feel like we have so many great clips from our last 100 and whatever episodes, but of course we haven't been taking video, so...
Not until now.
Until now.
So
we didn't really have a good way to get our stuff out there. So I just decided, fuck it. I'm going for it.
And you went for it.
Now is the moment. And I went for it.
They're adorable.
Yeah, they're really fun to do.
And we've gotten a lot of great feedback, which one, thank you.
Yeah.
Not that I had anything to do with it, but thanks.
Well, no, it's still nice to hear that people are liking them and relating to them. Yeah, we've gotten some good feedback on them. So
nice.
I'm going to keep doing them. And if you guys have any good quotes that you love from past episodes or that you that make you laugh or whatever you think would make a good little animation, let me know and I will animate it. That's part of it, is just going back through the episodes and pulling good quotes, you know? So I'm open to, if anyone comes across a good quote that they think would make a good little animation, let me know, because that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've requested in one of Christopher's episodes, the bouncing baby boy.
Yep.
That's what I want as an animation, which means you have to make a new character.
I know. They have a Wendigo, so I think I can make him a Wendigo.
My God, he'd explode in excitement.
I know. And I want to pull guest clips from all our guest episodes, so I want to make everyone a little character,
It's adorable.
I gotta do
choose your character.
Yeah.
Like the sound.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, and I'm proud of myself.
I'm really proud of you.
Yeah.
Gosh, I've been loving them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Me too. All right.
Are you ready for this meat?
I am.
Meat.
Meat.
What's
meat? It is the meat.
I was close.
Yeah. It is meat.
Meat
is what you've said in the past.
Yeah.
It is meat.
It is meat.
And what's that meat?
Going from something that's super exciting and fun to something that's not.
Womp womp.
Let's talk about our meat today, which is ADHD and addiction. We need fireworks,
yeah. ADHD and addiction.
Yeah. So this episode will be our jumping off point for what I am suspecting will be a multi-part series on addiction and addiction medicine. It's incredibly complex, it's incredibly vast, and it's up and coming. There's a lot being done about it compared to what has been done about addiction. I think we'll primarily be focusing on more substance use disorder, which is more smoking and pills and meth.
Yeah.
But eventually I do want to talk about behavioral addictions like gambling and shopping and the internet and social media.
Yes.
Maybe even sugar addictions and food addictions, maybe binge eating disorder. But I mean, we could spend a whole year doing just addiction. I don't know if the listeners would be up for that. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Because
do a whole spin-off podcast
of just addiction.
Just addiction,
We probably could.
It'll be a real bummer.
And then because it's really hard to do an over-compassing kind of broad spectrum subject like addiction because there's so much. I thought I'd, go through each little topic one by one in depth and maybe even possibly interview some firsthand experiences on Patreon. I know some people said that they were interested in that.
Yeah.
That being said, if you're listening right now and you want to share your experience, if you feel comfortable, because these are, very, very personal things, please, please, please email us at weirdsofeather@gmail.com. I know it's really hard to share your story, but I do truly, truly believe that by sharing your story, it will be very helpful for other people who might be in the same situation, and it'll be incredibly valuable to other listeners.
And we could probably either like do little interviews with people if they want to like actually share it on the podcast, or if you wanted to just write in and have us read it, or even share it anonymously.
Exactly.
That we could just read it.
Exactly. I'm hoping to call on I have like a little outline of stuff I want to do, but basically this episode is just going to be like an overall like addiction and ADHD. And then I'm going to go through kind of nicotine addiction. Will be kind of the next big episode. And for that, I'm hoping to call on a couple of colleagues who are in medicine to kind of talk about some repercussions of smoking and vaping. And that will probably be on Patreon. And then, go through and talk about alcohol and ADHD, and then pills and what I'm calling pills and stuff.
Yes.
So like
pills and stuff.
Cocaine, opioids, meth. I do want to do one on caffeine. And then I also want to do one on treatment and substance use disorder, because there's a lot of new studies coming out about. They basically all say the same thing, which is like, you got to treat the ADHD before you treat the substance use disorder.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yep, but there's just so much. I'm having a hard time kind of, how do you talk? It's like, like I said, I could spend a year just talking about just this stuff. So there's a lot out there. I'm excited to get into it because I've been meaning to do this for a while. I think it's been very overwhelming for me, but now that I've broken it down, I'm excited.
Yeah,
and so I hope you're excited too, even though this is like such a sad topic.
Yeah. I mean, it's good information for us to have. And a lot of ADHDers struggle with different types of addictions.
Quite a bit.
I think it's a very necessary one.
Yes.
I think it'll be good. It's fun to learn, even when the subject's not super chipper. Isn't it fun to have knowledge?
It's fun. This is a bit of a downer, but that's okay. So let's get into it. What is addiction? Addiction, or what we're going to kind of refer to as substance use disorder, which once again, that does not cover like gambling or binge eating. Those are kind of separate, but also part of addiction. So it's kind of like a weird fine line. But per the DSM-5, it is a cluster of cognitive, behavioral, and psychological symptoms indicating that the individual continues using the substance despite significant substance-related problems. And so they have substance use disorder criteria, and you don't have to have all of these, but here are some of the criteria, and I copy and pasted this from the DSM-5.
All right.
Taking the substance for long periods of time or in larger amounts than intended. Being unable to cut down or stop substance use. Spending a lot of time obtaining, using, and recovering from the effects of the substance. Experience cravings or intense desires or urges for the substance. Failing to fulfill obligations at home, work, or school due to substance use. I could say that about TikTok, my TikTok use.
Yep. Same.
Continuing the substance despite having interpersonal or social problems that are caused or worsened by the substance use. Giving up social, recreational, or occupational activities due to substance use. Using the substance in risky or dangerous situations. Continuing substance use despite having physical or mental problem that is probably due to the substance use. Tolerance, or needing, which is also described as needing more of the substance to achieve the previous effects, which is a big one.
Yeah.
And then withdrawal, which is another big one, which means an unpleasant symptoms that occur when you stop using the substance.
I like that they don't give it like a time frame. Like, it's not like you use this thing every single day, because I feel like I see a lot of people on TikTok talking about how you can be an alcoholic and only drink once a month. But if it's like if you fit all those other criteria where you like rely on it, it causes you problems and you do it anyways. Like, I like the distinction where it's not necessarily about time. It's about like the reliance and use of this thing
and
despite
how it affects
harms.
your life.
Yeah.
I think, and also, so substance use disorder can be divided up into mild, mild, moderate, and severe. I combine medium and moderate.
Yeah. Meter it.
Depending on how many of those traits you experience. So you don't have to have all of them, but depending on how many you have, you'll be able to like quantify how bad your substance use disorder is. And then usually the progression of substance use disorder, it follows in this pattern. So you first start with like experimental use. So let's say for alcohol, you drink at parties when you're, in high school, and then occasional use, which is taking the substance socially or using prescriptions, not as directed. So for like alcohol, now you're like having like a couple glasses of wine at night or something. But if you think about it, if you have 2 glasses a day, 7 days a week, that's 14 alcoholic beverages.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Which is it's a fair amount, that's for sure. Or, let's say you had your knee replaced and you've got, some opioid prescriptions for that. And now you're using them more and more and more and asking for a refill. That's not taking them as prescribed. Heavy use is taking the substance routinely with few or no days off. So now you're drinking every day, even if it's a glass or 2 of alcohol or smoking once a day. And then substance use disorder is you take the substance daily or multiple times a day, and there are rarely times you're not using a substance. So that's like your everyday smokers, where you have to, especially the ones who get up and the first thing they do is like have a hit of their vape or take a cigarette break or something like that.
When I worked at the hospital down in Charleston, my supervisor, Debbie, who I hated, but she said she had a patient who would wake up in the middle of the night to smoke cigarettes.
That's like extreme substance use disorder. And there's a great, I'll have to find it. There's a great documentary on vaping with high schoolers. And they interviewed this one girl who was probably like 16 or 15, and she said she would either wake up in the middle of the night to take a hit of her vape, 16 years old.
That's so terrible.
Or the first thing she did was she'd have to get up and take her vape, or else she'd felt like shaky and groggy with a headache. So it's pretty severe. Yeah, we're gonna get into smoking.
With that,
we're gonna get into vaping.
Vaping is so insidious. The way that
smoking. It's just smoking. It's the same thing.
But the vape has come along and made kids feel like it's not the same thing as smoking. Like at least smoking, like, no offense, but smells gross. And it's like you have to be outside. There's like
it's so sneaky vaping because it doesn't smell as bad. I think it's
so much easier.
It's easier to hide,
especially with those flavored ones too.
Well, how we're gonna
ridiculous.
The flavored ones should be illegal.
You know what else is another big thing that all of a sudden everyone's doing? Whippets. Oh my God. I've like gotten onto Whippet TikTok. I don't know why. I'm just so fascinated.
No reason.
I'm not interested. I've never done a Whippet and I'm not interested in it. There's a lot of substances that like I don't even want to try it because I don't want to know whether it's enjoyable or not.
I have a dumb question.
You know,
is that where you take like a spray can?
Yes, but now so it's like the whipped cream, it's the nitrous. It's hits of nitrous. So you can.
Oh, it's not spray paint?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. That's like huffing paint.
Okay.
Like Charlie Kelly style.
Yeah.
No, this is like you're getting high off the nitrous oxide.
Oh.
So you can not to give, you can buy it at like vape stores anyway. So it's not like not to give you advice, but it's like if you took, like kids used to take the whipped cream cans and hold it upright so you're not actually spraying the cream out, and they would like do a little puff of it.
Is that why I got a lot of looks when I took 6 whipped cream cans from the grocery store?
Literally, yes.
For Christopher's birthday?
Yes, that's why. Because people use them to do whippets. But now you can just buy them at like vape stores and like glass, like head shops and stuff, and they'll literally just sell you little tubes. It's like what you use to fill up, balloons. Like people will buy little tanks of just the air, just the nitrous oxide. And it fucks you up so badly. It like is the worst thing for your brain. I'll do some research on it because people are using it like crazy. They can't do anything else. They like are really out of it too. Like it's not even like a fun party drug. It's not like those other drugs that are super fun. It kind of just like makes you really out of it. And people will get so addicted to it that they're blowing through those cans a day. Yeah, so many cans a day.
I feel one, that should be illegal.
Yes.
But two,
they make these things so accessible.
I think the vaping especially is so insidious and designed to get you hooked at a very young age, despite what the companies will say.
Yeah, if I was in high school now, I mean, if I had unmedicated, undiagnosed ADHD and I didn't realize, and it was so normalized and it wasn't gross like cigarettes, I could totally see myself getting addicted to vaping.
For sure. I'm so glad we didn't have vaping because, we both would have been vaping up a storm.
Yes, and I never want to try one because I don't even want to know.
It's one of those things that's like the same with like,
were you going to say math?
I was going to say math. Like
I know you were.
Every once in a while I'm like, could be fun.
Could be fun. Could be a good time.
Not even once because I just know.
I've heard that about heroin where it's like you don't even want to know. It's like you don't want to have that knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't. And the same for vaping. I just don't want to have that knowledge because I know and studies have shown it's so hard for people with ADHD to quit.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So is addiction common in those with ADHD? Yes. So 25% of the general population will struggle with some sort of substance use disorder, whereas 50% of those with ADHD will struggle with a substance use disorder.
And I think in high school, it was 75% for high schoolers.
Probably.
Yeah,
that's
what I've read. And then I think the 50% is like for adults overall with ADHD.
In otherwise, you're twice as likely to develop a substance use disorder if you have ADHD.
That's crazy.
And then in adolescents with substance use disorder, they found that 50%. Oh, I wrote that down wrong. So I don't know what that statistic is, but something about 50%. I think it's supposed to be in adolescents with substance use disorder, about 50% have comorbid ADHD. And then to paraphrase our one and only Dr. John Ratey, leading expert on ADHD, says it's not if, it's what you're addicted to.
Absolutely, completely. Especially if you're unmedicated.
Because
you're medicating yourself, obviously. I don't know how people go through life and don't have addictions. Is that bad to say?
Well, I was like, I don't have any addictions. And then I was like, oh, for sure, social media. We're going to talk caffeine,
social media.
Yeah, we're going to talk about them.
I've always had like some kind of like seeking behavior when it comes to stimulants. Yeah.
Those paint pick videos where they're mixing the
can't
paints.
get off them.
I can't get off. They're so addicting.
I feel like I'm just grateful I haven't been introduced to more potential addictions. I could totally see myself getting any addiction.
Like, how did we like get by in life this far without like becoming addicted to something?
I literally just think we didn't have bad influences around us. I would have been so easily influenced to try anything.
I'm still so easily influenced.
Yeah.
I buy everything off a TikTok shop.
You do? I don't buy anything off
not
TikTok
a TikTok shop, but then I find it on Amazon.
Boo.
I know. Or I go to the actual website. Right now I'm trying to buy an automatic litter box. But we have to do research first.
Womp womp.
Because there's a rumor going around about like cat decapitation. So
oh God,
I know. I think I think it's big litter coming in.
Yeah, like you don't want the automatic. You don't want the automatic. It'll decapitate your cat, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's all conspiracy. Man, by big litter
goes all the way to the top.
Big box.
Yeah, big box. Yeah, I think we just got lucky to like not be introduced to things. Yeah. Thank God. And even then, even the ones I do have, like caffeine, I'll escalate and escalate. I'll find like a new, stronger energy drink. I'll be like, oh, I'll only have half of it. And then soon I'm like having the whole thing. And then it's like, what about 2? Like and
then you're waking up with the shakes.
Yeah, I gotta have my bang.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we got incredibly lucky.
Yep.
I think we had a lot of crafting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We had a nice group of friends.
Like,
I don't know. We weren't around bad influences,
you know? We weren't. And
luckily.
Even the bad influences, like they weren't even that bad.
No, it was like me and Haley putting one shot of vodka into a 2-liter soda. Like, ooh. I
remember that.
Sharing one beer behind
so bad.
her parents' garage. Yeah. We were the worst influence you guys had.
Yeah.
And I went literally nothing.
to parties with the theater kids, and I was the designated driver.
Cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
I remember the one time I had a sip of someone's beer, and I was like, ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And then for the next 3 days, I felt really guilty about it.
Catholic guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because the
I feel lucky that I hate alcohol is another thing. Like, I just do not like the taste. It hurts my belly. I'm sensitive to it. I'm so grateful. Like, you know?
I think we'll talk about alcohol later.
Okay.
But I also am like slowly shying away from alcohol. And I'm sad because I really love making gin. But I'm
bathtub gin.
Yeah,
you could just make it and distribute it. You don't
I
have
like
to
an occasional gin and tonic, and I like wine, but some of the red wines have so much sulfates. I think I have like a sulfite allergy because I always have to take my inhaler like 8 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. I had to look it up the other day. We're getting off topic.
Okay.
Let's talk about
Whippets.
This is Whippet-adjacent TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok. Oh my God.
You do have a problem.
I have an issue.
Yeah.
But what we're supposed to be talking about right now is why ADHD and substance use disorder are so comorbid, which means they're like together. The exact mechanisms of ADHD aren't really known, but what we do know is that people with ADHD have a faulty dopamine reward pathway.
Tell me about
it. Yeah. Some more than others.
Yeah.
So our brains are always seeking out things that will increase this dopamine or the dopamine stimulating those dopamine receptors. We're always seeking dopamine.
Yep. Gotta have that dope.
Sometimes there's healthy ways to do that. There's exercise, there's meditation, there's working on a hobby, a craft, or something. And sometimes no.
Sometimes no.
Sometimes no. Sometimes there's alcohol and nicotine and caffeine and sugar. And all those things cause like this quick rush of dopamine. I'm a firm believer in everything is okay in moderation. For sure.
Yeah, I don't know about everything.
Almost everything.
Most things.
Heroin,
probably no.
Probably not for heroin.
Yeah.
And meth.
Whippets, probably no.
Yeah. Probably not.
But I think it just depends on if you're able to do things in moderation. Like, I think if you do, I think when we talk about addictive personalities, I literally think it's just ADHD and it's genetic.
The more research I do, I'm like, maybe it's just people with ADHD have the addictive personalities.
It's so weird that, we talk about it being this genetic thing. Like, you know, my mom will say, oh, we're like predisposed to alcoholism. It's like, and also I think I come from a long line of ADHDers who struggle with substances.
Right. And there have been studies to prove that. Like, there was a study at Yale with mice, I think more with nicotine, but they found that when I'll have to talk about it later because I haven't read the whole study, but basically they like switched on and off this gene that was in the prefrontal kind of like moderated behavior in the prefrontal cortex, which they're alluding to may possibly be in relation to ADHD. And when they like flicked that off, and then it was like prefrontal cortex was out of control, they were just very, very addicted to nicotine.
That's very interesting.
I have that study somewhere, and when we talk about nicotine, I will bring that up again.
Okay.
Most things are okay in moderation, but if you have ADHD, you're naturally depleted of dopamine and therefore more susceptible to seek out dopamine. Yeah. You're already at a disadvantage in combating addiction compared to our neurotypicals. Many people with ADHD, their addictions occur because they're self-medicating, especially with nicotine. That's like the classic example.
Yeah, because it like gets you up, but it also calms you down.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it could be self-medicating anything. It could be ADHD. It could be you're self-medicating your depression, your bereavement, or bereavement, not debridement. Oh my gosh. Your bereavement, your anxiety.
There's also like a societal component to addiction as well, where if you're like not in community with others, you're obviously gonna like, it's like this problem that, you know, compounds on top of itself, where you're feeling more lonely and isolated. So maybe you do have more of the depression, and then you have more of the loneliness, and then you're like self-medicating that as well.
Yeah.
And like how much of ADHD causes people to be socially isolated. Like, I feel like it's so many different factors that build on each other.
Like I said earlier, it's the addiction medicine is incredibly vast. We're just talking about ADHD and addiction, but it's never just ADHD, and like rarely is it just ADHD and addiction. Like the ADHDs are incredibly comorbid with depression and anxiety, and it's kind of like the chicken or the egg, whereas like is anxiety first and then ADHD? Is it ADHD causes anxiety, which causes the addiction? Like it's just it's so complex that it's hard to pinpoint it on one thing.
Yeah, and people act like it's such a straightforward thing, but there's like
you just
so
have to
many
have willpower.
Factors. Yeah. I do not judge or blame any person who develops any type of addiction. Like we said, we can totally see ourselves easily getting addicted to anything. Like, I'm just surprised I'm not.
That we're not.
Yes. So, like, I do not judge anyone, especially, like, whether you just, like, try something once because you're young or you don't know or whatever. You're just trying things. You don't realize.
Or people who, like, back in the 90s when the pharmaceutical companies said that oxycodone wasn't addictive.
Yes.
And everybody was taught that pain is the fifth vital sign. You have to treat the pain, you know?
Or you get put on pills and your brain just lights up, and like I'm so grateful.
This is like the only thing that makes you feel good in the day. You know?
I'm so grateful. I don't like oxycodone. Like I've been on it a couple times, like for my wisdom teeth maybe, and it didn't make me feel good. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like it's of course if your brain reacts with so much dopamine to this chemical, of course you're gonna like want to keep seeking that out. Like I totally understand how people become addicted to things.
There's a great podcast that I've listed below that had a specialist on that kind of talked about stress and ADHD, and the way that they explained it I thought was pretty nice. And I'm going to attempt to paraphrase that. But most likely with ADHD, with depression, with bereavement, with anxiety, living in this world, you're probably going to be, with increased stress, you're going to have increased cortisol because that's your stress hormone. And then when you're in this high cortisol state and a low dopamine state, that is when you start to look for those easy dopamine fixes. So that's, the cigarettes, that's the weed, TikTok.
Yep.
Sugar.
Yeah.
It's Dr. Shane on the podcast ADHD Big Brother. He calls it itchy brain, which I think is a really good descriptor.
I like that.
And when you get this itchy brain, you look for these quick fixes that will temporarily increase your dopamine, but quickly it leaves you high and dry, but not even high, right? So it increases your dopamine, but then it goes away, and so as do your dopamine levels. But you still have, since the stress hasn't been fixed, you still have those high cortisol levels. So you're still in that state of like high cortisol, low dopamine, and it just sets you up for addiction.
So you're going to keep seeking and seeking.
Seeking and seeking. Yeah. You'll find the most addicting drugs are the ones that have a rapid onset of effect and they have a rapid half-life, which is basically how fast the body is able to process.
Like alcohol, where that first drink gives you a huge dopamine hit?
Well, I'm thinking more of like benzos. So the ones, like Klonopin and Xanax, they're very effective, but they also leave the body very quickly. So all of a sudden you get this dopamine rush and then it's taken away.
Whippets. I think whippets are like a really short, like they give you this huge, because it's like taking this, you're bringing this
right to the
air
nugget.
To your brain. Yeah. And so I think it gives you this huge hit. So people like will do it over and over and over and over in like a rapid
succession. You gotta write an episode on whippets.
I think I do.
I don't think I know anything about whippets.
I didn't realize I had so much knowledge about whippets. I just, for some reason, because I find it so upsetting and tragic. It's like these high school kids that are getting like strung out on air, and they're like, it's so embarrassing. I buy this tank to like blow up kids' balloons, but instead I'm like hitting it on my couch and like passing out and getting up and doing it over and over. It's so harmful. I'm gonna look into whippets.
Yeah, I think you should look into whippets.
All right,
because now I'm curious.
Right?
It wasn't on my docket of things to explain, but now I need it explained.
Yes. Okay, I will do that. I'll stop bringing up whippets for now. Maybe not.
But yeah, so back to cortisol. So high cortisol, low dopamine leaves you in this itchy brain state. And the more you look for those easy fixes, basically the dopamine keeps coming and then going very quickly. And, you still have this itchy brain. It gets itchier. If you're someone with ADHD, you're already depleted of dopamine. So you already have so much to overcome when fighting that itchy brain. Is this unfair? Yeah, it is, but it's reality. Addictions are incredibly hard to overcome, and even so much more so if you have ADHD. But, not all is lost. It's not impossible to quit or to be in recovery.
No, of course not.
You're not alone, because there are plenty of people, like we said, 50% will struggle with some sort of substance use disorder. I'm sure many listeners are shouting right now about, whatever substance they are struggling with or behavior. There are plenty of helplines and programs, and I just wanted to shout out a few of them. If you're a smoker in Maine, there's the Maine Tobacco Helpline, who recently changed their name. It really screwed me up. The Maine Quit Link. They have a website and a phone number, obviously. And I tell this to patients all the time because they have a lot of good treatment options, including therapy and support groups, and they can sometimes get you medications to help you quit. Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, is kind of a very well-known nationwide peer-led group that uses a 12-step program and peer support to promote abstinence since the 1930s, which is crazy. A recent Cochrane review in 2020 found that AA and the 12-step facilitation therapy demonstrated higher rates of continuous abstinence compared to the alternative treatments such as cognitive behavioral therapy. Their one con is they do have religious roots, but you don't have to be religious to join it. I think they're kind of shying away from that. I'm not totally sure.
Can I make a comment about AA as well?
You don't like AA?
Well, I don't have any personal feelings about, I do have personal feelings.
It sounds like you have very personal feelings.
I do. It's not my personal beef with AA. It's more so it is kind of pushed as like the only or like the gold standard of treatment for alcoholics. It's kind of like really the big one that we always talk about.
Yeah.
And it can be very wonderful for certain people, and I'm not negating that at all. Like, I do think it helps plenty of people. But the knitting cult lady who I follow on TikTok, who grew up in a cult and then has written books about it.
Yeah.
She talks about how the 12-step program structure does have similar characteristics to a cult-like structure, in the sense that it creates these like power imbalances. And I guess there's something that's like the unspoken 13th step. That's essentially where people who have been in the program for a really long time will they'll prey on new members who are like young or vulnerable or like,
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Actively in their addiction. And it's, mostly men in the program, but it's so much of a unspoken thing that they literally call it the 13th step, where they'll like go out of their way to be like, ooh, fresh meat, and kind of like prey on these really vulnerable people. So it's just like any type of situation that has this like structural, certain people are above others, like it just opens, and then you have addiction in the picture as well. It just creates a lot of like potential harm. And also, not everyone does great with the abstinence only, especially if you're the type that's like the all or nothing type, where if you fall off and you have one day where you use, then like according to AA standards, it's kind of like now you got to start all over and it doesn't count, as opposed to like a gentler approach, which some people like that like strict all or nothing, absolutely nothing. But other people, like you said, some people can do things in moderation, or they treat their ADHD and now they're able to like drink occasionally, and that's fine. Like, I just think there are other programs as well if this type of structure does not work for you.
Right. I do want to do a little disclaimer about a lot of people are like, just quit cold turkey with alcohol.
Oh my God.
If you have a severe alcohol substance use disorder, you cannot quit cold turkey because you will have a seizure and potentially die. It's called delirium tremens, and you really need, if you are really struggling with alcohol and you're drinking quite a bit, it's okay, but if you decide to quit or cut down, you need to tell your medical provider that you're doing that, and work together with your medical provider, because it can be really dangerous for you to quit. This isn't saying that you shouldn't quit.
Yeah.
You should probably cut down first and then work towards quitting, but you should do it in a stepwise manner rather than all at once, because it can be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good disclaimer.
I want to do one last one before we bounce on out of here. I want to talk about ICASA, which is the International Collaboration on ADHD and Substance Abuse.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I've never heard of this.
No, me either.
And let me just read their little mission statement.
Please.
ICASA claims to contribute a substantial decrease in the proportion of ADHD patients developing addictions and substance use disorders, and to substantially improve the detection, diagnosis, and treatment of patients having both ADHD and SUD. Which is phenomenal. So basically what they're saying is that they're a giant international group that is constantly doing research to further the understanding of ADHD and substance use disorder, especially in the prevention of substance use disorder in children and adolescents with ADHD. They are worldwide, but their office, I think, is in the Netherlands. So our Netherlands listeners, there you go. And this group has funded so many publications. They rely solely on donations, I believe. The publications alone, they just have like on their website is just like article.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So if you're looking to, contribute, you can. Or maybe if you're living in the Netherlands or somewhere, you can sign up to be involved in one of their studies.
That'd be cool.
Which there's a link on their website, which I have linked in the show notes. But yeah,
yay.
So there's not all is lost, and I think the next couple of episodes are going to be kind of downers, but there are things that are being done. I think a lot of it, does it all go back to capitalism? Kind of, especially when we talk about nicotine addiction. I think it's a stacked world, and I think it's incredibly difficult. And anybody who's able to quit, I think is a strong person.
Yeah. We're really being asked to do things that are very like unnatural for humans, whether you're ADHD or not, like this lifestyle is unnatural for all of us. It's like if you have to make yourself get up and go to work every day, that's not a natural pattern that your body and brain are like naturally able to do easily. So of course people, I think it does go back. Capitalism and lack of community is also part of capitalism and white supremacy. But like really, they did that other study with rats where they had a rat isolated, and I think they gave him like meth or heroin. I'll look into that one. But the rats became addicted to it, and they kept hitting the lever. Then they introduced the rats to communities of rats, and they no longer hit the lever, even though they still had access to it.
Didn't they also do that with like, they had rats in cages that were just like your standard rat cage, and they're like, here's the meth. And they were like, yes, more meth, please. And then they gave the rats like this really nice habitat with like grass and like activities to do, and other rats, and the male-female ratio was equal, and there was no like fighting for food or dominance or anything. And then they didn't want any of the meth.
Yeah, I think we might be talking about the same study. I'll look into that one. You look into the other mouse one you were talking about.
The Yale one, yeah.
Yes, I will. And I'll look into this one because, community, in addition to the brain chemicals and everything, like community is also such an important aspect where we have so many people who are so isolated. Of course, they're turning to anything that will make them feel better,
Exactly. Yeah. I think, it's so hard. And we are going to be talking about heavy stuff, but we got to make it a little bit fun. So I figured at the end, I have some personal addictions. Do you?
Nah.
I'm
you're just
free. You're just
like a monk.
High on life.
Yeah, high on life. I'm just having a good time. I hit the ground running 6 a.m. Yeah, I'm just like,
life.
You sustain me.
You do.
No, I have lots of addictions.
All right. Let's go. Name a couple.
Okay. Burt's Bees chapstick.
Yep.
Truly.
I wrote it down for you,
yes,
actually.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You.
Sugar. I love sugar. I love anything to do with sugar.
Mm-hmm.
I will eat it until I get sick.
Yeah. And like, I love sugar as well, but like, I do see a difference in how we behave towards sugar.
Absolutely.
Or you have an addiction where you're doing it and you're like making yourself sick and it's like you cannot stop.
I can't stop. Yeah. It's really bad. I've gotten better. And I also know, kind of like an addict, the more sugar I eat, the more sugar I want. So especially if I start the day off with something super sugary, I'm going to want more.
Yeah. I think mine is just like a bad habit and yours is like addiction level.
I could, if I like went through those like bullet points we went through earlier,
Weed is one of mine, like for sure. And they say like, oh, you can't physically get addicted to weed. Like you can get addicted to anything.
Yeah, you can be addicted to anything.
It's a mental game. And I'm there, baby. It's one of those things where like, I wish I didn't know how good this is because I like it. But I think out of all the substance addictions I could have, that one's the least harmful. I know it's still not great, but like
it's not.
It gets me through a lot of hard times, and it helps me regulate myself, and I don't have as many meltdowns. So it's hard when it's like a regulation tool, but also an addiction. You know.
Yeah, I think most of the studies that are coming out about weed are in adolescents and people who don't have a developed prefrontal cortex.
Yes.
That's where it's like the most harmful.
Yes.
And something we'll talk about in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely, discernment with all of these things where, I agree.
Kids,
I think it does do a lot of damage.
Don't smoke, please.
Yeah, don't do any substances, kids. Your brains right now are so fun as they are. Save the substances until you're older and you need it. And you're like,
you've got your whole life to be depressed.
Yeah. And if you start drugs too early, they're not going to be as much fun as you get older. Save it and then it'll be even more fun. I didn't get into weed till I was like 24, and now I'm a stoner. And like, it does help me regulate myself and I'm having a good time with it, So like, I don't know, just hold off, let your brains develop. You got all the childlike dopamine right now.
Right. You have no bills to pay.
Yeah, dude.
You don't have to worry about a mortgage.
Yeah. Like if you're in America, sure, you're worried about school shooters, but like,
oh yeah, there is that.
At least you got your youth, Yeah. Save the substances till like 25.
Yeah, you're not questioning Botox or bangs.
Yeah. And then you'll make smarter decisions with those drugs when you get older, know?
Yeah.
I'm not saying stay off drugs. I'm saying save the drugs for later. As a little treat. For you.
Just stop smoking.
Yes.
It's so harmful. Yes. Whether you're smoking nicotine or just the flavors. It's so bad.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it later. Yeah. I'm really addicted to caffeine.
I am as well.
Do you get withdrawals if you don't have it first thing in the morning?
I don't know because I don't not have it. I mean, I think I thought that being medicated would replace the caffeine, but it hasn't because now it's just like it's set a new standard of like awakeness. So now I just like being able to this is bad. It's really like you get addicted to this habit of I want to consume something that will change my mental state instead of just like taking a medication. Sure, that's fine. I take my meds every morning, right? But like I want to drink something where once I drink it, I'll feel differently and I can control how much of it I have.
Yeah. Right now, I do go through withdrawals. I'll get like a really bad headache and I'll just feel really groggy and grumpy and angry and I'll hate my life if I don't have it by like 11 o'clock. Now that I'm getting up so early, it's like 10 o'clock. Like the other day I slept in and I'm like, I got to get up so I can have coffee, which is like,
no, I don't have that.
I've got like an eye opener, but it's coffee.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
It is pretty bad.
So yeah.
Even when you're on ADHD meds?
Oh, for sure. There's been no change. Yeah. I do have quite a caffeine addiction. Is it good? I don't know. I haven't done the research yet, but
it's not good. It's
not
bad.
Great. It's bad.
It's really bad.
I think it is bad, but I also I like the taste of good coffee, not garbage coffee.
It's
but
nice
I
to have like a fun little treat,
It's a fun little treat, drink. But I also like in the morning, it's part of my routine. I get up, drag myself to the Peloton, suffer, and then I get my little treat after. I get my coffee, and I like drinking coffee while I get ready in the morning. I like the flavor of coffee. I like to sit on the couch on the weekends, and I sometimes on the weekends I'll make decaf instead because I'll go through a whole pot just because I like the taste of coffee.
I've been drinking a non-caffeinated green tea because this isn't an addiction thing, but I just it is the caffeine because I like just having a hot little drink.
Yeah.
And I'll drink like too many green teas and it's not that much caffeine, but if you have like 3 of them, it does make me a little racy. Yeah. I realize I just like the activity of having a hot little drink with lemon in it. So sometimes now I'm making hot water, I'm making decaffeinated tea.
I am also making hot water.
I realize I could just replace that with
I just want a hot little drink.
Yeah.
Especially because we're in a polar vortex.
Yes.
It's hunker down. Fucking cold.
So if you find that you're just drinking caffeine partially because you just like the ritual of it, get into decaf tea or you can just drink hot water as if it's tea. turns out you can just have that as your water.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
I really made fun of you for drinking just hot water, but now that I started doing it, I love it.
Isn't it nice?
It's really, I'm like, I didn't even need the tea. I just wanted a hot water. Yes. I just wanted it to warm me from the inside.
Yeah, I just want something to sip like this, and it's cozy.
And then if it gets cold, it's not even like, oh, my tea's cold. Yeah. It's like, oh, now I just have regular water.
Yeah, now it's just still water.
Now it's just water.
And you can heat it back up if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We both have this on our last one, TikTok.
Yeah.
Social media in general.
It's really, for me, it's kind of just become just TikTok. Well, Reddit, sometimes I'll go through phases where I'm really addicted to reading Reddits, but it's mostly TikTok.
It's 90% TikTok.
It's problematic.
And then 10% Instagram Reels, which is ugh.
Ew.
I know. It's only because
Reels.
Because I was like, ugh. It's almost because my TikTok and my Instagram are right next to each other. So I just click on one, but it's mostly 90% TikTok.
Yeah, mine is 90% TikTok, 10% Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? As much as I want to...
2% Pinterest.
Yeah, so 102%. As much as I want to blame TikTok, because part of it is the style of TikTok.
Yeah.
They definitely created this very addictive thing where you're getting these short videos. But I was just thinking back to college, before there was any of this stuff, I was addicted to StumbleUpon. Remember that website where it would give you a random website? It was called StumbleUpon.com.
Oh, like Omegle?
Maybe.
No, not Omegle.
No, Omegle's where you're
webcamming.
Yeah.
Random people.
No, this was it was a website. It was kind of like Pinterest, maybe is the closest thing I can think of as. But it would give you these random websites and you would just press it. Kind of like gambling, I guess, but I wasn't betting money. I would do it in class too.
Mm-hmm.
It was a problem, but I was just addicted to seeing the new
Is
page
it still
that would
a thing?
be pulled up. I don't know. Let me check it out.
All right.
But it would just give you the most random websites.
I love a good random website.
So do I. And it was a problem. Discover the gems of the web personalized to you. It looks like it is still maybe
you have to subscribe
a
to
thing.
It.
Yeah, it used to just be a website, but I guess you would sign in because you could either choose totally random, or you could say I'm interested in this subject.
I see.
Take me to different websites.
Oh, cool.
So now it sounds kind of lame,
this
but
looks like an official website. I was thinking
right? No, it looks a little bit like
put
Pinterest.
This in the show notes.
Sure. I'll get you guys addicted to
here's
StumbleUpon.
another thing to be addicted to.
Now it's different because now it's got videos, but it literally, I think they're just trying to make it like a Pinterest TikTok now.
Yeah.
But it literally just used to be one website, one homepage, and you would just press it, stumble upon, stumble, and it would just pull up new interesting web pages. So even when the apps and the social media wasn't made to be addicting like it is now, I was still doing that type of dopamine-seeking behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not even the substance or the thing so much as just the desire for that dopamine. Really.
You're seeking dopamine. Yeah.
I'm not bored all the time. I would do it in class. I would do it in college.
Because you're bored in class. Yes. You're bored in college. I always got bored studying, so I'd go on YouTube.
Yep. And it all goes back to capitalism, because it's you're put in these situations, especially when you have ADHD, where you're fucking bored most of the time in school and all the time, really.
Right.
Work. God, I got addicted. I went through a big phase of Candy Crush where it was so miserable at my job as an SLP, and I was so overwhelmed. I literally couldn't stop myself. I would not do my work because I'd be on Candy Crush. It's a problem.
I have days where I've found that I am really into games where I get to sort colors. So I just really love colors.
You love colors. I got to show you this game called Hue. I think I've told you about it before. Where you're trying to match, it has a color hue where
and
you're trying to match the exact one that goes in the hue.
I've seen it on TikTok, but I don't like the descriptions that people have done, so I'm upset.
That's different. That's a game, right?
Yeah.
This is an app where it's just you doing it by yourself, and it's not really a competitive thing.
Okay.
You're just trying to choose the right color that would come next in the sequence of fading from purple to pink. You're kind of trying to pull them into the right place. I think you'd really enjoy it.
Probably. I love sorting colors. So I have a couple different when I need my color fix. I have Candy Crush. I have Soda Crush. I have a game called Fruit Merge, which isn't really colors, but you go from you have all kinds of different fruits, and the small fruits, you can merge two of the same small fruit to make a bigger fruit. You try to get big fruits.
Oh, you want big?
Yeah. That's not really colors. But then I also have a cake sorting game.
You like sorting?
I like sorting, but sorting that involves colors, like colorful things, like cakes, where you have cakes. They have different. Sometimes it's a cake with like 4 different slices, and they're all different cakes, and you try to all get whole cakes of the same cake.
Yeah.
So
there's that.
I love colors is what I
have one that's like a bunch of like test tubes and it has different colors,
I've done that one. Yeah,
where you're trying to pour them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I like sorting and I like colors, and if I could do color sorting, that would be amazing.
I gotta get you like a big bin of those like little like see-through plastic shapes that they would have in like preschool or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You know, sometimes they have magnets on them, but you're
like if crayons didn't have such an awful smell, I would love to sort a big box of like loose crayons.
So if you out there have a big box of non-smelly loose
all crayons are smelly, especially if they're like...
All right, so maybe like marble sorting?
Yeah.
Would you like that?
That would be better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have a big thing of loose marbles that you need sorted...
That are colorful. Or beads.
Good reference to...
All moves back to beads.
Us.
Yeah.
Referencing Arrested Development.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be my dream, is to just be a bead sorter, I guess. And I just sit there all day sorting beads.
Living the dream. Bead dream.
Should we get into this bod? Get a bod.
All right. Thanks for listening. We should end the episode before we do the bod. Yeah. This is part 1.
Part 1 of many. Yeah. I don't know how many parts. It's just going to keep going.
We'll see until she peters out.
Yeah. I might, when I get bored, I might do a different subject every once in a while.
All right.
Like bead sorting or something.
Yeah, you could live stream your bead sorting. The only thing more fun than bead sorting is watching bead sorting.
There you go. Yeah.
It isn't that fun.
Coming to a Discord near you.
Yeah, get ready. We're ready. Come out hot.
We got a lot.
Kristin bead sorting.
A lot of new content
it's just you, like,
coming.
Hunched over.
Right. Or with my prism glasses.
Ooh, yeah.
So my neck doesn't hurt as much.
Smart, yeah. So, and I'm gonna have that Whippets information.
I'm really excited about.
I'm excited to teach you about Whippets.
I'm excited about Whippets. Yeah,
we're psyched about Whippets. Yeah, I can't wait for Whippets.
I'm excited.
But in the meantime, don't do Whippets. Please.
Don't do Whippets.
Save your brains.
Yeah. You need your brain for many things.
Some substances I say save to like 24, 25. Others don't do it all.
Just wait for your brain to develop. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
And then once you have a fully developed brain, you're free to make all sorts of bad decisions.
Hopefully with that fully developed brain, you'll be like, maybe I shouldn't do Whippets.
Well, that's why you got to wait for your brain to develop.
Decision. Yeah.
And your brain doesn't fully develop until you're like mid-20s.
Yeah.
So just
hold out. Yeah.
It's hard.
I know it's tough, but bear down. All right. Yeah. Okay. You can find us on all the social media stuff. We're trying to get away from
Facebook,
Meta. So find us on YouTube. Find us on TikTok. You can find us in the Reddit community, Weirds of a Feather. We have our own community, so we can chat up in there, post like crazy. You can find us on RedNote. We're all under Weirds of a Feather, and then you can email us at weirdsofafeather@gmail.com.
Yeah. And this is truly a labor of love for us. We're a small 3-person team, and we fund this ourselves. We do have like a couple commercials, but that doesn't really help. We, everything we make goes right back into the podcast for editing equipment and now cameras and lights. And, basically we're just trying to keep this horse train running. So if you would like to help us with that horse train, you can donate to us at ko-fi/weirdsofafeather. There's a .com in there somewhere.
You'll find it.
Yeah. You can join us on Patreon, where we have extra content. We have NDTV, where we talk about neurodivergent television. I'm going to be starting a ADHD journal club, and we'll start posting our ad-free episodes.
Yep.
And we also have a website, weirdsofafeather.com, where you can buy merch. Someone just bought a Wet Little Front shirt.
Yeah, get your Wet Little Front shirt.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It has like a little splash on the front. If you're in the Wet Little Fronts Club like I am.
Yeah, and you can, like I said, everything goes back into the podcast. We use most of our own money to fund this, but anything helps. And we really appreciate all your support. All your 5-star reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts are really helpful. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah. All right. What's our bod?
What's our bod?
You are the one with the information.
Our bod.
Nice bod.
Nice bod. I want your bod. Was brought to us by Jamie, one of our listeners. Brought this to our attention.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie. It's the barred owl, not to be confused with a barn owl. They're different.
We've done the barn owl,
We've done the barn owl. Barn owl looks like almost like a browner version of Harry Potter's owl, right? It's got like that big moon face.
The one with the big flat face. I don't think that's...
And then like brown around. Yeah, I guess
I don't think that's the same as Hedwig. Yeah. It's different.
I don't know my owls, is what I
don't know my fruits. You don't know your owls.
I don't know my owls. So there's Hedwig, which I think is a snowy owl.
Yeah, I think so.
And then you have the barn owl, which has like a big flat face, basically.
They're like the creepiest looking owls, I would say.
They're
weird
freaking
looking.
Big owls, too. And then you have a barred owl, B-A-R-R-E-D, which also has a flatter face, not as flat. And it has this like almost like brown and white stripy bits. And that's how I would describe that.
Okay.
So barred owls, like swans and loons, mate for life, which I think is really cute.
Lovely.
And they have like what I would say is like a classic owl call. Like that's like the one you hear in all the movies. And it's described as almost sounding like, who cooks for you? Who cooks for you at all?
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
I guess.
Yeah. I guess it's more gray, but it's like brown and gray, brown, gray.
Yeah.
And white gray.
Yeah.
The stripy bits.
Little stripy bits.
It's cute. I think it's the cuter of the owls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lives in North America.
All right.
Do you hear it? Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you at all?
It's not at all. It's all.
All. Oh, yeah. I'm adding
I guess
a word.
like someone just made up a sentence that fit it.
Sometimes they have calls that are like the ooh-ah, which they call the inspection call. They're just peeking. Ooh. And then they have some sort of like some calls that are cackly and described as sudden demonic laughter.
Oh.
Cat-like screams. Prolonged outburst of cackling. But we're going to stick to the main guy here.
Okay. Sounds like someone like blowing through a little kid's trumpet.
You nailed it.
Thank you. I think it was a
little too high. Is there an owl in here? Yeah.
Right?
The one who hasn't reached puberty yet.
Yeah. Balls haven't dropped. Hard to get the echo that it has. Like,
well, because we're not owls. That was really good.
Right?
That was really good.
You gotta do a really weird O mouth. You gotta make the echo in your mouth. Glad we're filming this.
No, I'm too high.
You know, you gotta create
You're
the
professional.
chamber. I'm pretty good.
Professional.
This is the best bird call I've ever done.
I'm so impressed.
There you go. That was pretty close.
That was close.
Yeah, you got more of an echo on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something with the bottom lip.
No. Not that. Ooh, plus we got a good echo in here.
Yeah, we do have a bit of an echo now, especially when
in
we're
here.
yelling like that.
Yeah. Lucy's probably upset.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, well,